Hi, and welcome to Keep Sane. Cheaper than therapy, at least for me. Um, Today we're going to talk about people and being pack animals. Um, a lot of people talk about, why we're the dominant species, top of the food chain. Of course, unless you're swimming and there's sharks around, or you're in the forest and there's a bear and you don't happen to have a high-powered rifle. You know, we we are lying to ourselves about being evolved past a lot of our um, co habitats of Earth, we still pretty much are pack animals. Look at political parties, look at high school sports teams, college teams, fans of at least. We argue and bicker, state to state, city to city, high school to high school within the city, and those are packs. Like a pack of wolves, you're picking a side and you're you know, pissing on the tree to mark your territory. I mean, that's all you're doing. Um, and there's nothing wrong with that in a healthy way. It's, kind of what's kept us alive against more physically dominant species. None of us are going to beat up a gorilla, hand to hand. It's going to kick the shit out of you, tear you apart. You're not going to survive the ocean without having some people get together to build some boats. Um, it's an important part of who we are, being pack animals. Codependent. We need each other. But at the same time, the lie of being evolved beyond that, it keeps us from really understanding why we attack each other for no need. Um, Whether it be the Virginia thing, whether it be the presidential election, which the common statement is, I voted for the lesser of two evils, the one you hated less, so great, we're so conditioned to having to believe it's you pick a side, one line. There's not multiple opinions. It's good or bad. It's Democrat or Republican, or if you're on the one side, it seems to be conservatives or liberals. Um, whatever the case may be. We like to create lines and create labels to have to force people in, and it's a pack mentality. We want to be able to, you know, find someone and people we can identify with that will keep us safe, will keep us emotionally supported. The problem is a lot of that comes with also building in automatic people against you. Um, Religion's not that much different. You pick Catholic over Presbyterian, or Lutheran over Baptist. I mean, and you'll hear each other talk about what's wrong with the other religions, and ultimately it's about being a good person. If you're not being a good person, you miss the point of whatever you're doing. Um, I get wanting to belong. I have zero friends. Um, and I don't have I have acquaintances. I have people that I like who like me, but I don't have anybody who like goes out of their way to spend time with me and vice versa. Good people tend to have friends. You lose a good friend, it's hard to replace, especially as you get older. Um, you know, and it is what it is. I have kids, I have a wife, I have people that I love and that love me, and that's what I care about. If I don't have a external friend, I don't really care. Um, People ask about it, but that's people assume you need one. I, I need to be friends with my wife. That's who I'm friends with. That's so. I mean, when I say I don't have friends, I mean outside of her. My kids aren't my friends. That's a different thing. I love them. We're friendly, um, but they aren't my buddies. They are my children. My job is dad. Right now I have two boys, but my job is dad there. And I try the stuff you'll hear me on this is the same sort of stuff I talk to them about. Don't get angry at someone else just because they're not part of your pack. They don't go to your school, whether it be middle school or your high school or they're not on your team. They didn't choose to play your sport. These are choices people make. It's not a reason to like or dislike someone. Someone identifying as Democrat. There's no reason to dislike them if you identify as Republican. Now, for me, I say that, but if that's something that you tell me right away, it is something that makes me dislike your personality. If you have to identify and you have to tell someone your identity right away, if you're gay, if you're trans, if you're extremely heterosexual, I don't want to know when I'm meeting you. You know what? I don't care. I want to know who you are, not what you label yourself. Do you think as a person? If the answer is no, luckily you can't see who I am to not talk to me, and you probably won't see me anyway. But luckily, I know the second you start saying, oh, I'm, a, oppressed, fill in the blank. If you want to act the victim, if you want to act the annoyed political person, if you want to be the, person that has to let everybody know they're celebrating their sexuality, you know, I don't want to talk to you. Your pack animal instinct is driving me nuts. Um, you know, and I might be mislabeling some of this. Labeling and categorization is not always pack animal-ish, but it is along the same line mentally. So I'm trying not to cross both categories in the same particular conversation here, one-way conversation. Luckily, no one can argue with me when it's just me. Um, but yeah, it's a funny thing. I don't want to know that about you that quick because I want to know how you think. How do you process information? How do you like to communicate? What are your interests? Um, like my wife and I don't have that many things in common as far as things we like to go do, type of TV shows we like to watch. And I like it that way. I don't want her to want to spend every second with me. I want her to spend most minutes with me, but not every second. That's too much. I have a personality. She has a personality. Um, she's part of my family, but you know, it doesn't mean it has to, you know, be everything. We don't have to have every same pack we're part of. And again, that's where it's dumb. You have different people in your lives that have different interests that you do different things with. You can't just pick one. you know, I I can be a sports fan, I can be a certain TV show fan. I'm not going to argue if you're Star Wars, Star Trek. I like both. I also dislike both for different reasons. I'm not going to argue those with anybody. If you want to talk about the feasibility of a lightsaber, I'll listen. You might teach me something about science I don't know, which would be a lot. There's science is definitely not my strong suit. Um, but there might be something as far as the movie general information that I missed that seems really weird or I like talking about I like sci-fi. I like most types of movies except for horror. I don't like having my eardrums blown out to make me jump. I grew up on Nightmare on Elm Street and those were creepy enough. Jaws to me is a horror movie. Makes me hate the ocean. you know, I I guess I don't need I don't really want to have to pick a pack. I don't want to have to argue with you. I kicked my best friend of let's see here. Middle school came best friends 20ish years. Um, kicked him out of my life for multiple reasons, primarily for trying to tell me my son was a pothead and a drug addict when he's never smoked pot or even drank a beer. Um, oh, he's lying to you. He does it all the time. This is someone who's met my son twice, maybe three times, knows nothing about him. So, yeah, some people like that in your life. Well, again, different topic, different reason. But he used to love to tell me what he must assume I was. He assumed I was a staunch Republican. Not sure why. I don't know if it's because my parents, I think, tend to are Republican for the most part. Um, I don't really talk to him about it because I don't feel like arguing. I know we have enough different opinions. I'm not going to talk to him and pick a fight over ideologies. But he used to like to be a liberal, and claim liberal, mainly because his parents and his family were all very much that way, proud of it, and like to embed statements, not information. He had no real information, but he liked to embed statements that they taught him to hammer someone else with. Had no, I mean, he had opinions, but he wouldn't listen to yours, and I that drives me nuts. I guarantee you, some of my opinions are flat out wrong because I don't know how to wrap my head around the other point of view. Um, and again, if you listen to this, you'll find out what some of them are. But I think I got off topic. It's about pack animals, but essentially, really evaluate and think about how you identify what you hold dear as far as your groups. And that's what a pack is. It's just a group of people that you call like-minded. They can be good and can be great, but it can also be awful and evil. Um, so just remember, we are still very much animals, and don't think for a second that you're above, the less other species that we consider lesser. I mean, just really think about it. I do. I think about it all the time. How does my actions and my thoughts impact my family, people around me? Hopefully I become a better person as I listen to more opinions and really try to get rid of those things that were instilled of having to believe what I was told instead of believe what feels right. So anyway, have a good one.